And welcome back to part two this week 7. So we had left off with this prioritizing of key stakeholders. And frankly, here is what I wanted you to then just close out that portion with. Because it's vital to have development plans for stakeholders in management that transforms. These key stakeholders, they form an essential part of our own management plan, right? This almost becomes like a subsidiary plan to running our own organization. But we don't often think about it. We just think about running organization. Well, what about all these other people that have an influence or whose influence can help us or block us along the way? And so it's important to develop the subsidiary plan with the any procedures or tools. Tools can be networking. Tools can be, through the information we've gathered, making sure we're communicating with them at the right time or talking to them about topics that matter to them, right? Things that hit their needs, their interests, and then have a potential impact on our unit mission that I'm managing. And so the sponsor role, this key executive above us or several, this is one of the most critical leadership roles. And we want to predict the success of that role and their engagement with us in terms of our unit's mission and as it fits within the organization, right? We want to we'll still ensure clear accountability, right? As we drive successful change. We want to offer legitimate reasons for engagement so they feel like their time is used wisely. We want to create a clear sense of commitment to current and new ways of working. And we want to make sure we're garnering active support for difficult decisions that are often needed, especially during a change effort. So, sponsorship, or the sponsor or those key executives, people with the budget, decision makers. This these are some of the most effective means we can use when we are working with multiple executives or managers across our organization. We want to make sure that we're working together, that we're coordinated, that we're a coordinated network, right? Ensuring clear and consistent communication, even when other things are changing around us, right? And we want this to be reinforced at all levels, at our management level, at our worker level below us, at our sponsor or key executive level above us, and between the managers who are abeam me. So there's an active role to be played here by managers and role modeling so that people can see the behaviors required for success in the future, right? As we work to sustain sponsorship in our management that transforms. So that's kind of exciting, I think. So now we want to take a quick look then at empowering stakeholders. So now we're talking about empowering stakeholders, which can be yourself, can be the team members, can be fellow managers, and or key stakeholders like those decision makers we were just talking about. And so empowering team members and stakeholders begins with understanding the clear roles and assignments, right? Roles and responsibilities. I call it R cubed or R3: roles, relationships, and responsibility, right? There needs to be clear expectations about the roles played by each team member. When action is taken, clear assignments need to be made and accepted by the individuals and then carried out. And part of what you're doing is following through with them. And so we want to make sure then that also that work is fairly distributed among the team members. This may seem like a small thing, but it's actually critical. When we discussed conflict management, and we discussed Tuckman's stages of team development, one of the very first conflicts in the storming area, or transitioning from forming to storming, was in unclear roles and responsibilities as people vie for power. So clarifying this is essential. And this is a lot of what this stakeholder management, and stakeholders, again, above you, abeam you, below you, your team members, and yourself are a stakeholder carrying out these various functions. So I think it's really something important to consider. Now, you want to think in terms of a common mindset versus that effective mindset. So when we create this relevant team vision and strategy, with our leader hat, the manager then hat is put on and says, why is our team relevant, and how do I translate that into action, right? So the leader hat in your organization is putting on a common vision, strategy, and goal. And the manager hat then has to go out and execute that common vision, strategy, and goal. And so it helps people to know where you are going and why. Why is essential, right? So a common mindset on the left is, I tell members what to do and they do it, right? But people want to know why, and I found that much more effective in the long term to getting people to accomplish things, because they're going to make decisions when I'm not around. And why helps them understand constraints as I see them, or assumptions as I see them, or requirements or objectives as I see them for the good of the team. It allows people to aspire to something bigger than themselves when they know why, right? And so what we want to do is answer the question, why do I even want to work here in this organization? As a manager, your why helps create an effective mindset, right? And the effective mindset says, I help people get clear about why behind what, and assist them with how. That's a manager's function. That most of the time is just assisting them with how, as you continually clarify the why and the what while you're walking around every day. Because it helps people decide, why do I want to work here? Right? Which means if they like working there, it's going to help with recruitment. It's going to help with retention. It's going to, an effective mindset aligns with that organization's vision, creating relevance, right? So that's back to the leader hat on, which is aligning the strategic level with the operational level with your manager level. There's alignment throughout the organization, and the manager hat has to execute that, right? And so an inspiring vision creates engagement that the manager gets to drive, and that engagement means meaningful work, right? Which I think is very exciting. We just tied some very important threads together as managers that transform. And so, do any of these stand out to you, would be my question. Focus on wins, withhold criticism, focus on quality, build on others' ideas, encourage wild ideas for a while because they can develop into things. Don't get trapped in the details, but write things down for follow-up and stick with it. There's a lot of emotional quotient in here, a lot of leadership, a lot of management, all good topics that should be part of your daily manager battle rhythm. that incorporates everything we've talked about up until now. Okay, that is enough on stakeholders. The last piece I wanted to cover this week was about removing critical impediments, a key manager function. And so we're working on removing key impediments as a manager. And so notice on this slide, right, as a manager, right, I would offer that you need to identify and remove impediments that keep your team from operating as effectively as possible. I'll say that again. As a manager, you need to identify and remove impediments that keep your team from operating as efficiently as possible. So what is an impediment? Well, it's anything that keeps a team from being productive. Now, let me tell you the story of the monkey on the back, right? I have if I call a problem a monkey, right? And if the monkey's on your back, what do people like to do? Whether it's your boss above you or your team members below you, they like to throw the monkey at you. Hey, here's my monkey, take it. Woo! And now it's on your back. And whenever my team members come to me, I ask them, just like your boss above you will ask you key questions. Did you try this? Did you talk to this person? Did you go down to this shop and discuss it with them? Because in doing so, you're telling them maybe you haven't thought it through completely. Maybe you haven't done everything you can do. So as a manager that transforms, this point is critical. People are going to bring you problems. And if you accept all of them, you will never have time to follow up, to strategize, to do performance feedback, to do management by walking around, and other key functions that managers need to do. When people bring you problems, I always run through the list of things they should have tried first. And if I find one or two or so that they haven't, I make them go back and follow up and then come back to me if it doesn't work, right? But I want to know that they have done everything in their power. Only then do I accept the monkey, and that is my role. It's to knock down walls. But some walls they can knock down. Some people, by nature, run up to a wall, hit it, and stop, right? There are other ways to go over, around, through the wall. And your job is to give them the tools, not to always do the wall for them, right? So it's the monkey. Put the monkey back on their back if there are things they could still try to make it successful. So these are some common impediments or monkeys. I can't get the vendor to call me back. Well, did you try calling their boss? Do you have a backup person? Who is your contract management representative? Have you made it their requirement, right? I can't get time with the group I need to meet with. Okay, so now I have to manage your schedule, right? Have you tried a conference call instead? Have you tried an early morning meeting? Offer them breakfast, right? Et cetera, et cetera. I'm struggling to learn about, okay, have you been to the education center? What sort of training can you recommend? Don't just bring the problem to me, right? Et cetera, et cetera. So think of it in terms of the monkey in the back. Some monkeys are yours to accept as a manager, but make sure your team has done everything they can, okay? So with this last slide for this week, these are common corporate impediments, right? And as managers, we often become owners of the product itself, frankly, right? Where we are going to become, we're going to have multiple initiatives going on at any one time. Not everything is included that should be included in the work. We have to figure that out. And we want to make sure that the team doesn't lose momentum. So a lot of good nuggets here about what if there are no impediments. Okay, I will see you online. Thanks for another great week. Let's be excited.